This video is on angles and triangles. So most of this is a review from 6th grade, but we're going to go through it just to make sure that it's refreshed in your mind. So an angle is formed by two rays with a common endpoint. Like the endpoint here is y, and these are two rays. And so this can be named by vertex y, or as angle y by its vertex, or as x, y, z, or as z, x, y. So or angle z, x, y. So there's different ways to name angles, and this is important because it will specify a certain angle that you'll have to say the measurement of, or it'll ask you questions about. So an acute angle measures greater than 0 degrees but less than 90 degrees. And we call this like an acute angle. Acute angle would be smaller. And so like this 7-degree angle or a 33-degree angle, an obtuse angle or a big angle measures greater than 90 degrees but less than 180. So it's opened up wide and has a wide opening like an O would. So it is obtuse, and so you need to know the difference because again, you'll have to specify the different angles. You'll have to name triangles based on these angles, and that's why you need to know it. A right angle measures exactly 90 degrees, and there is usually this little box in here that shows that that's a right angle and specifies it as a right angle. If you see this little box, you know that this measures 90 degrees. So this is the part that's new for 7th grade. You have complementary angles, and I always remember this because C comes before S in the alphabet. And complementary are two angles whose measures add up to 90. So these two angles would be, you would say that they are complementary because 32 plus 58 equals a right triangle, which is 90. So that's complementary. Then the second one is supplementary, and S comes later in the alphabet. And these are two angles that add up to 180. So it's a bigger amount. And so these two angles, 41 plus 139 equals 180, the straight line. So these are called supplementary angles. Okay, so now let's talk about triangles. And triangles can be, there's two ways to classify triangles. First by the angles and second by the sides. And an acute triangle has 3 acute angles. So these are all smaller than 90. And so if you have 3 angles smaller than 90, it's all acute angles, and so it is an acute triangle. And then a right triangle is real easy. It has this little box, and that means it has a 90-degree angle, and that the other two add up to 90, but the right angle is 90, and so it is called a right angle. And then an obtuse triangle has one obtuse angle, and then the other two are acute. And if you try to measure different angles, you'll see that it's impossible to have more than one obtuse angle. So the obtuse triangle has only one angle, more than 90. Okay, so the sum of the angles in a triangle is called the triangle sum theorem. And it's that all of these angles in a triangle add up to 180, always. And so that's how it works. If you know one angle, you can find out, or if you know two angles, you can find out the missing angle, or if angles are alike, you can find out how much they are. And if you took the corners of a triangle and flipped them around, took the angles and flipped them around, it would show that it's a straight angle. That's where the 180 comes from. So you're going to find the missing angle in an acute triangle. So of course these are going to add up to 180. This is going to add up to 180, but what do you know about this angle? Because there's not a number on it, but what do you know about it? And these two plus this one are going to add up to 180. So come back and check your work and do these, and then pause. Do these, come back, check your work, and see, and go on. Okay, so this one was an acute triangle, and I added these up and I got 117, and then I subtracted from 180 and got 63, and that's the correct answer. And then this one, the square told me that this was a 90-degree angle plus 42 is the two that I knew, and that equaled 132, and then 180 minus 132 is 48, and let's check that. And then the last one is an obtuse angle, so I added these up, and that's going to add up to 85, and I know that my answer's got to be 90 or greater than 90, and so I did get 95. So those are the correct answers. Okay, so congruent figures, a little bit more vocabulary. Congruent figures have the same size and shape. Segments that have the same length are congruent. So if two sides are exactly the same, they're congruent. Congruent means same. You can substitute the word same in where it says congruent. And it says angles that have the same measure are congruent. So again, same, if the angles are the same, they are congruent. Just a fancy word for same. So now I'm going to talk about the way you classify triangles by their sides. So we looked at angles and now how they classify by their sides. So an equilateral triangle has three congruent sides, three same sides, and three same angles. And the measure of an equilateral triangle, the measure of the angles is always going to be 60 because they're the same, and 180 divided by 3 is 60. So this is 60, this is 60, this is 60. And this says that these sides are the same. That's equilateral. Equi, like equal. And then an isosceles triangle has at least two congruent sides and two congruent angles. So these two angles are going to be the same, and this is going to be different. And they're still going to add up to 180. And this one side is going to be the same, is going to be one side, and then these two sides are going to be the same. And the angles are opposite of that side that they're the same of. And then a scaling triangle, no congruent sides, so none of the sides are the same, and no congruent angles, so none of the angles are the same. So that's the one that everything's different is scaling. So now I'm going to walk you through this. It says find the angle measures of the equilateral triangle. Well, what did I say? I said that equilateral triangle always has all triangles have 180 degrees, and it's three equal ones, so it's 3b equals 180. And we know that's the same as 180 divided by 3, so b equals 60. And it's always going to equal 60 if it's an equilateral. Find the angles of the isosceles. So the way that you do this is you take 180, I'm not going to open this. You take 180 and subtract 48. And that's 8, 7, that's 10, so 2, 3, 132. Now, that's 132 is the angle measure left for these two sides. So I have to divide that by 2. So that's going to be 66 degrees. So this is 66 degrees, and this is 66 degrees. And then this one, it's like it says find the angle measure for the scaling triangle. So it's saying that these are a function of x, and so we're going to find out what x is. And so 3 plus 5 plus 2 is 10x equals 180, because these always add up to 180. So x equals 180 divided by 10, which is 18. And then this one would be 3 times 18. And this would be 5 times 18 and 2 times 18. So here's your homework check. You're going to find a missing angle in a triangle. You're going to discuss if one angle is 10, what the complementary angle would be. And if you don't remember, go back to complementary and supplementary and the definition of those. And then find the missing angle in an isosceles triangle, just the way that I did on the previous page.